Okay, just a few seconds. I'm going to share my screen so that it's up there. Let's do it. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Your Diversity Advantage, Master the Art of Sourcing Diverse Candidates with Diana Capello. My name is Robin Mercado, and I'm an SDR over here at Consensus, and I will be your moderator for today's session. DemoFest is presented by Consensus. Consensus is leading the world into the new era of demo automation. Our platform gets your buyers what they need when they need it. It then multiplies your revenue team's impact with unique insights on those buyers. As a result, you'll see faster close times, larger deals, and higher close rates. You can learn more at goconsensus.com, or you can view the automated micro demo at the link in the Docs tab to the right of your screen. We encourage you to participate in today's session, of course. On the right side of your console, you can see a few ways to engage with us throughout the session. The chat function will allow you to engage with us as well as other attendees. And throughout the session, you may see a few polls. We highly encourage you to participate as your feedback is really important to us. Our speaker will be taking questions from the audience at the end of your session, but of course we encourage you to ask questions at any time through the Q&A box. And if at any time you're having any technical difficulties, you can head to the gear icon on the bottom of your screen. And here you'll see a help document to kind of help troubleshoot any common issues you may have. And now I would like to introduce our speaker. Diana Capello is a solutions consulting director for Eightfold.ai. She has a passion for process with a focus on putting people first. Her team of top performers is 75% from protected groups. She is a PSC brand ambassador. She founded and leads the Eightfold for Good philanthropy program. She mentors women interested in sales leadership with Girls Club and was named one of their top 50 saleswomen to watch in 2019. And with that, I will turn the rest of the time over to you, Diana.
Thank you, Robin. That was a wonderful introduction. Just full disclosure, I am nervous. This is my first ever solo talk, so I'm so glad you chose to spend this time with me and be there with me as I go through it and learn out loud. Today, we're going to talk about a heavy topic, so I'm just going to get my jitters out, talking about me a little bit more. That way I can ease into it and be ready for you all. But I've spent more than 10 years in pre-sales. Three times I've been a leader. SCs, customer SCs. That was a fun jaunt. The RFP team has reported to me, and I am soon hiring my first demo engineering team. So super exciting. I've hired for all of those different teams, and I'm excited to share my experiences with you today. A lot of people ask, how'd you get into this work? Well, I was a film major. I am not a techie. Then I went to sales because I really like talking to people. Then I went to marketing because I realized I could talk to a whole lot more people. And then I got sick of talking to people and I went to be a systems admin where I got my process and techie skills. And I combined my two passions and finally landed in my home base, solutions consulting. Why diversity matters to me specifically, it's very personal. I have 2 young daughters. And in my life growing up, I had a mom who was a CFO. So she was constantly working. And my dad was the primary parent who stayed at home and was a freelance writer. So role reversal, but it worked for us. And once I got out into the real world, I realized how rare that was. And I just want to normalize it. And fun fact about me, it's a shock. I know I've never drank a cup of coffee. I don't plan on it. People have snuck it in, but I've never intentionally picked up a cup of coffee. This is tea. And a little bit about Eightfold. This is not an ad for Eightfold. I do work there. And part of the reason I work there is because of their mission, the right career for everyone in the world. It resonates deep in my soul. It's part of my why. I love helping women in particular find entry points into tech sales roles because it's such a life-sustaining career. And so that's why I took an interest in Eightfold. And some of the things I'm going to show you today that we used for the hiring process, we used in Eightfold because we use AI to match people to jobs and jobs to people. So it's very on topic. But again, everything I'm doing that I'm showing to you, you do not need Eightfold for. On that note, some serious stuff. I'm not here representing Eightfold. I'm not here representing Consensus, although I am a new customer of theirs. I'm representing me. It's just my own opinions. You get what you pay for. It was a free session. So please don't send lawyers if it doesn't work out for you. Send cookies. I really like Girl Scout cookies, but they're in short supply now. So chocolate chip will do just fine. With that, I wanted to do a quick poll. And let's open the poll now. So get your clickers ready. I'd love to know, do you have a DEIB initiative, either in your company, or do you have a personal cause that you're picking up? Or are you like me, where it's both? Or are you neither? If you're neither, thank you for joining and welcome. Let's see if we can change your heart and mind. If not, totally fine, but I'm glad you're open to hearing about it. I've got one vote coming in for a few of them. Oh, votes are changing. Okay. We got 4 votes. I don't know how many people are in the group right now, but that sure takes the nerves away if it's so few. So we'll give it one more second. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay. Can't publish poll while something else is being presented on stage. Okay, well, I will read you the results. We have 1 vote for company initiative, 2 votes for a personal cause, and 1 vote for both, and nobody with neither, which is not that surprising. But thank you for sharing. That really helps. Not every company has a formal initiative. I happen to belong to our DEIB group, but I can't say that there's a company-wide hiring initiative for this. So we'll talk about how do you evangelize that. In today's session, you have a little bit of homework. Please take notes as we go. And I will ask you at the end, what is one thing that you can take away from the presentation that you would do differently going forward? With that, we'll talk about the advantages of a diverse team. It seems like many of us kind of have that in our mind already, but it's helpful to have financial numbers and statistics and studies to back you up, especially if you're going to have to get hiring managers or recruiters on board with your plan. Then we'll talk about what I've done to attract talent. So candidate marketing, it's a thing. And not only recruiters do it, well, us as hiring managers need to do it too. And then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of what I did specifically to find talented people from underrepresented groups, which really isn't that hard. Then we'll talk about having an equitable hiring process because attracting them is one part of it, but you got to have follow through. And then I'll share the results that we got at the end of our recent hiring journey, and I'll share some resources. And if you stick with me to the end, I have a gift for you. All right, advantages of a diverse team. These aren't my stats. I've quoted my sources. They'll be referenced at the end, so you can take a picture and read on your own time. But I tended to find a lot more about gender than about any specific race or ethnicity or religion or background. So this one I'll start with, it's agnostic of any underrepresented group, but McKinsey and Company did a study and they said, if you have a higher racial, gender, ethnic representation, you are more likely to have a 39% financial outperformance of companies that don't. So that's down to the bottom line, the ARR, the TCV, whatever it is that your company measures. Your company, if you have diversity in your workforce, is going to achieve more than others who don't. Now, from Girls Who Sell, women AEs are more likely to close a deal than a man in the same role by about 5%. So you might say, well, that could be margin of error. True, but let's read on. Gong did a study and they found that women sellers have a higher win rate than their male counterparts. So they have an 11% difference there. And then Girls Club, which I'm a member of, really great group, especially if you want to go into leadership. They said 86% of women sellers meet quota compared to 78% of men. So that's specific to sales. But then there's some other numbers here just across the board. Fun fact, minorities, if you will, may reach majority status by 2024. Gen Z, if you're hiring, especially for entry-level jobs, it's going to be hard not to find somebody from an underrepresented group because they're going to be 48% of the population. Now, similar to above, diverse companies have higher profits. Diverse management has better profits. Companies with diversity outperform less diverse companies. And this is really interesting. We use this stat in our presentations as well, is that 3 out of 4 job seekers prefer a diverse company and coworkers. I was just reading an article today about it, and what they were saying is it's likely because it brings not just diversity of how we look, but diversity of thought, diversity of experiences. And that lends to more creativity, more idea generation, more ping-ponging and developing and coming up with something new, as opposed to the repetitive same old, same old. So think about diversity in a bigger context there. And it's not just those of us from an underrepresented group that care about it. Yet, this is a really depressing stat. I'm sorry, I just ruined your morning. But even when a woman holds the same characteristics as a man, they're 30% less likely to be called back for an interview. This is where AI can help, but it doesn't solve the problem. It can actually make it worse if you don't do it right. So that's where I wanted to start with my project is let's level that playing field in the best way we can. How do we invite, include, and hopefully eliminate that gap? So this is a question, not a poll. Go to the chat. I'd love to hear, how do you define diverse? Is it gender, race, anything here? Ability, this could be non-neurotypical. I have family members. My daughter is colorblind. 1 out of 100 women is colorblind, super rare. So I tell her she's special. Social economic status, that might matter more in other countries, but it also, how you were raised, what the environment was you were growing up in. Personal history, are you ex-military? Is your spouse military? Those are totally different experiences. Or I even have an acquaintance who works at a company, Televerde. They specifically hire incarcerated women and train them up to be BDRs and salespeople. And when they get out, so far to date, they have a 0 reoffense rate. So some companies do specifically have initiatives for that group too. So how do you define diversity? For me, it's all of these. Let me jump into the chat. Maybe I'm not seeing all the chats, but please put that in the chat. How do you define diversity? Okay, same. Yep, different life experiences, different demographics. There's a great book. If you can't tell, I love to read. I have all these books. Dream Teams. I think it's Sean Snow. I forget. But Dream Teams explains the topic in depth and very well. Okay. So what did we do to change this? 30% was a number that stuck out to me just because I've heard the stat that 30% of women in sales, of AEs are women. So I went with that and I said, okay, if that's the case, let's just meet the norm, the standard. Let's try to have 30% of our applicants in every stage of our hiring process be from an underrepresented group, not just women. So for us, it was non-binary, non-white, not disabled or not able-bodied, neurodivergent, immigrant status, or veteran. We were founded by 2 immigrants, actually. So that's one of the reasons that jumps out to me. Now I'm hiring in India, totally different demographic. In there, our goal is 30% women. That was the only dimension that we're measuring on that team. So different cultures measure it differently, but that's what I was going for. And so we started with the gender neutral job description because you got to appeal to everybody, right? Don't give people any reason to disqualify themselves. Then we said, okay, 30% of applicants is what we're going for. We'll know we did a good job posting the job description and attracting the right talent if we had 30% of our applicants from these groups. And then we thought we would interview 9 for hiring manager interviews. So at least 3 of them from an underrepresented group. And then 3 would make it to our demo panel, which is our final step. So we wanted at least 1 person from one of these groups in there. So those are the goals we set out in advance. Now, note on this, talk to your HR team before you set these goals. Talk to your recruiter. See what your company policy is. Some companies and even some states are starting to make it illegal to have goals like this, or are frowned upon in the organization. So make sure you're following the rules. There wasn't any such block on my side. So I was able to set these. Everybody on the team agreed. I shared this with my boss, with the hiring manager who reports to me, and we were all in agreement on this. That's key number 1. Now, if you haven't heard of Verna Myers, she's fantastic. She's well known on this topic, and I love this quote by her. Diversity is being invited to the party. Inclusion is being asked to dance. So I kept that in mind throughout this whole process. How do we seek out these people and invite them to apply? And then how do we make the whole hiring process as equitable as possible for everyone? So that's part of the DEIB. First step, the job description. First thing I did is I made sure any gender coding was out of there. They, them, totally great. Doesn't imply anything. That's safe. So make sure if you have a he or a she, switch it to they, them. Easy change. Harder change is, how do you know if this reads or appeals to a certain gender group? So there's a website I used, Gender Decoder. It is free. Google it. Copy paste your job description in. This was ours. And it will tell you how many words in there are masculine coded and how many times it was used. And same with feminine coded. Mine was heavily feminine. Go figure. I didn't realize. So I had to think of properly descriptive words that appealed to the masculine coded area. And they'll give you that list too. So you don't have to be a thesaurus. So that took me about 30 minutes just to change the language. Now, another thing that I did is your HR team probably has boilerplate text about here's what it's like to work at this company. Here's the benefits we have, da, 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 da. I asked permission because I was modifying my job description. I said, can I include additional things? Because they didn't talk about how we have remote work or flex hours. We didn't talk about our unlimited PTO or paternity leave. So all these things that I knew would appeal to someone like me, I wanted to make sure they went in there. And especially the career development, stipend, mentorship, and coaching that we had, there was no mention of that. But that's huge for this incoming class of employees. So this younger generation, they are hungry for additional development and they want a company that's going to invest in them. That's not just a underrepresented group thing. And the ERGs, I lead one of our ERGs. It's Eightfold for Good. It's not around a particular group of people. It's just around those of us that want to give back to the community and coordinate volunteer days once a quarter. So make sure you mention your ERGs. That might draw some attention from somebody who wants to work for a company that cares. Now, this I didn't realize was such a hot topic, but as I was testing this presentation out, I was surprised to hear that people were surprised about this. But coming from the HR space, I could tell you there's a growing trend right now to remove requirements from job descriptions because you need to cast a wider net and then you can filter out. But hire for potential. Don't disqualify people because they couldn't afford to go to college or they couldn't afford that specialty certification. So, for example, Eightfold has removed the requirement for college degrees for every job except the C-suite. And we have people that have been hired that don't have college degrees and they are killing it. And I love it. My husband, he works at our local city. He's in the sewer department. Never been in the sewer department before, but They gave him 1 year to obtain certain certifications that were required for his job. They paid for it. They gave him time to study and time off to go take the test. But at the end of the year, if you didn't pass the certification, you were let go. And one person didn't. They were let go. They were later rehired and passed the certifications, but he thankfully made it through early. But that's a great example of how you can give someone their foot in the door and be supportive of their advancement, but not cut yourself out to candidates that just haven't had those opportunities yet. And then lastly, consider past titles. They're helpful, but SC, SE, SA, demo engineer, like we have 90 titles. So titles isn't helpful. Skills is what's helpful. Look for skills and really question yourself about, is that a required skill or a nice to have? So that's what we got going on here. All right, so you've got your job description. You're sending it out. You post it on your job site. Woo! Who knows about it? Nobody, unless there's some bot going to your company's website and putting it on job boards somewhere. So you have to get the word out. This is where you put on your marketing hat. Leverage your employees. They have wonderful networks. As a manager, it's one of our most important jobs to have a bench. A lot of us forget about it. I know I did. So nurture your own network constantly, even if you're not hiring. But leverage your network, leverage your employee networks. And while you're doing that, stand out, because there's a lot of jobs out there right now. Not as many as there used to be, I'll admit that. But you want to attract that top talent. You have to pop. You can't just have black and white text job descriptions. So for leveraging the employee network, this I saw done really well by a marketing team at a company I used to work for. When they wanted us to go on social and shout about something, they wrote like 10 different LinkedIn, Twitters, whatever, all the apps. They wrote copy for us. And all I had to do is copy, paste. Or there's even apps for that. We didn't have budget for that, but there's an app where you can push things through there and it posts to LinkedIn for you. But pre-write what you want them to post, because they're not always going to be very good at posting. They're not going to want to put in a ton of time. You just have to make it so easy that they can't say no. So write your copy, ask them to post that or change it or write their own if they want. Now, if you have underrepresented groups on your team, they're going to have more reach into underrepresented groups. It's just the way it is. I know a lot more women on LinkedIn than I do men, I'm sure. I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure. So ask them to post specifically. It'd be good for you to let them know your intent. You can say, hey, look, I don't have any women on my team. You know a ton of women that are qualified for this role. Could you please help me? I have this desire to have more diversity in the team. Just be upfront about it. Most people are going to want to help. You can gamify referral bonuses. A company I used to work for, they had a 3-month challenge whereby if you referred somebody, you got a point. If they made it past hiring manager screen, you got 2 points. And if they were hired, you got 3 points. And then every couple weeks, they would announce a winner. Like you got a raffle ticket. So they'd announce who won the raffle. And at the end, whoever had the most points won a paid vacation worth like $5,000 or something like that. So see if your recruiting team can do something like that company-wide. That'll help all your open jobs. If not, on the team, you can run a spiff or just buy somebody a really nice prize, like a Yeti cooler or something for having the most referrals. Posting on LinkedIn, tip, the more people that are tagged in your post, the further it's going to go in the ether. So tag employees in your post to get access to their networks, have them tag other people, get access to those networks. Now on the standing out, I want to just say this point. It seems redundant, but I put my foot in my mouth earlier on LinkedIn. So I want to make sure I'm clear here. I'm not saying to attract an underrepresented population to your job, you must make video. No, that's pandering to an audience. What I'm saying here is if your job stands out on the job board or on LinkedIn, you're more likely to get more candidates, period. Full stop. It has nothing to do with underrepresented groups. So I apologize that I conflated those two on LinkedIn, but here's my tips for standing out. Video. All of us should be pretty comfortable in front of the camera, but if you're not, if it's not your thing, try GIFs. I just saw a GIF yesterday that inspired one of my posts where somebody was doing a public speaking event and she was not embarrassed. She was nervous and shy and anxious, and she posted a funny GIF of someone else acting nervous. And so that was her way. She wasn't going to put herself out there. That's totally fine. Photos, videos, GIFs with faces do so much better on LinkedIn. I've posted pictures of cups, of my food, of inanimate objects, documents. They go nowhere. But if you have your face on it or somebody's face on it, you're going to get a lot further reach. So I try to include photos, files, videos. Those all go a lot further than just a text post. And be genuine. If you're pandering to an audience, they're going to tell. If you act like you're this funny jokester all the time and then they get to know you and you're not, it's going to feel like a bait and switch. So just be genuine, be upfront, show the real culture that your team has. All right, I'm going to take a breather because I've been talking a lot. Any questions so far? I'm looking in the, oh, you like the gamification? Yeah, I was like in 5th place for that trip, man. So close. Okay, here's some examples. So I said make posts for other people to share. This is just our intro slide or one of our slides in our pitch deck. Ours is blue, but it's consensus. So we made it orange. The company owns this photo. She's a model. She's not on the team. She's beautiful, but we own the rights to the photo. So make sure you own the rights to the photos. And then I just took this slide and I put, we're hiring. You could just post that. Super simple. Got a lot of eyeballs. I thought I was particularly creative. So let's give myself a pat on the back here. Your face here. We want you. When you say you, audiences snap to attention. It's if you knew their name, that would be even better. But we're trying for reach here. So your face here. And then what was really fun when we did hire the person we hired, we put their face there and we put their name and we made a big splash on LinkedIn. So that was fun. Oh, one more thing. If you are going to tag people or you're going to post about somebody, I learned this the hard way too. Ask them first. They'll really appreciate it. It's unlikely they'll say no, but it goes a long way. So don't just willy-nilly tag people, even if you think it's a compliment. Okay. So specifically finding people from underrepresented groups. There are a ton of qualified candidates in any one of these groups. Qualification is not the issue. I've heard some pushback from other people when I said I had this initiative, but we want the best candidate to get hired. Absolutely. If they don't meet the qualifications, they don't. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about finding the people who meet the qualifications and happen to come from one of these groups. So what I did that was different from any approaches that I've done in the past is I specifically joined these groups if I wasn't already a part of them. There were a few I wasn't. And then I posted the job in their Slack channel or on their job board. Or I made comments about the job. Or this was a good one because I'm hiring for SCs. These are all AE or mostly AEs. I would say, hey, you probably know a great SC. Can you refer them? Can you share this link for me? So reach out beyond just Pre-Sales Collective and the other pre-sales groups. Reach into your AE groups, your CSM groups, marketing groups. Ask those ladies or those people from underrepresented groups to reshare. I'm not part of Sistas in Sales. It's a private group, but some wonderful people that were members of the other group offered to share it for me. Some of them might cost money, but you might find a member. Like Girls Club costs money, but I will happily reshare your job. If you want to send it to me, I'm a member. I'll go repost it. Don't just stop at the job board. There are specific Slack groups, like I'm hiring in India. In Pre-Sales Collective, there's a local India channel. Find those. There's a DEIB channel. There's a Women in Sales Engineering channel. Find those subgroups in these communities and post there. But please don't just post your job. Comment, contribute, be helpful. Even if it's just for a month or two while you're hiring, pay it back, pay it forward, like add to the conversation. Similarly, on LinkedIn, there are several groups on LinkedIn. They're not as active in my experience, but when you make a post, you can say, do you want to share with groups? So go join those groups and you can share with groups. That'll get the reach. And then talk about what matters. We were talking about early career. A lot of them want career development stipends and coaching. So if you have that, talk about that. We have a fantastic parental leave, not just maternity leave, a parental leave. And I know several men that took 3 months off because they're, well, I don't want to imply that they're married, but because they had a child recently. So parental leave, if you have it, talk about it. Talk about people that are taking it, encouraging that. Pay scale. This is a hot one. In India, apparently, it's not the thing to talk about pay right away. But in California, it's the law. When you post a job, you have to post the pay scale. But having the pay scale up front, at least for me, that's how I'm filtering my jobs. If it's not even close to what I'm looking for, I might move along. And I just think I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste their time and not apply. So if you hit the right pay scale, you'll get the right people's attention and you won't waste your time interviewing folks that aren't going to work out. Brag about your employees. Again, ask them first, but like if you have an SC of the Quarter award or something like that, show that you care. People want to work for a boss that cares. Oh, and those are the groups. I'll post links to all those groups at the end so you can join them. So here's some examples. I am an elder millennial. I just barely started using Instagram. I could not create a GIF to save my life. So I asked a younger millennial to help me. So I made a GIF. Went a lot further than just a picture. I showed how I care for my team. I bought these really cool cups and I was excited. So we shared, hey, when I hire you, I have 1 cup left. It's yours. Plus, subtle, but here's my team, right? So you can see we are a diverse team. And then Brandy, she's excellent. No, you cannot poach her. She has a fabulous network. I didn't even have to ask her to repost. She posted that we were hiring. She only had to post once. 8 of our top 10 candidates were referrals from her network with 1 post. Now, Eightfold makes that really easy because we have this referral link that's a unique URL that automatically tags everybody from Brandy's link. If you don't have that, ask. Your HR team might have something similar. But if not, what really matters is that people see the job posting and apply. But she just took this candid picture at sales kickoff. Like, this is genuinely the team having fun, laughing, walking to dinner. And then another candid moment. We had a lot of fun trying to pick what song to play with this. And I don't know that the audio is going to work on here, but sorry about the audio, but you get the point, right? Like, people were just having fun, goofing around. And yeah, we had a little competition about who could come up with the coolest song to put to this. I got so many messages from people about just that one post because I put it in Pre-Sales Collective while others put it on LinkedIn. And people were saying, I'm not applying for the job, but I just wanted to let you know that was the best job posting I've ever seen. So look for candid moments, be genuine, be a little more hip with the technology than I am, and it'll help you stand out a lot. All right, there we go. Our results. So we had 74 applicants in just the first 2 or 3 days. This is a screenshot of Eightfold. This is where we were tracking it. You could easily track this in Excel or in any other system that your hiring team is using. I specifically went and tagged the groups that I would like to track. And I could see 50 of those 74 self-identified as one of these groups. Now, again, I think it's more normal in California to have that type of question on the application. If you don't, RAI would actually infer if you might belong to one of those groups. It's not always right, but it helps. So ask your HR team about what you can and can't ask, how to ask it, how to measure it. But measuring something makes it much easier to stay on top of. So this was just day 3. We ended up getting over 200 applicants, and we had the opening probably 5 weeks. I know that there's a lot of people looking for work right now, a lot of wonderful people looking for work. But still, even that number felt really high to me. And I will say for the quality, our AI scores people based on their skills, their experience, their potential to do the job. And a 5 out of 5 is a really good match. That's the top match. The first page of 50 candidates were 4.5 stars or above. Even with this high amount of diversity, it did not reduce the quality of the candidates applying. So I just want to throw that out there. I'm sad that I even have to point that out, but diversity and quality aren't dependent on each other. It's just as likely you're going to find high quality candidates in any group. Some other results, these are early indicators, right? Off scale victories, as my fitness coach would say. But this is my post on the top of me holding the cup. I got 1,500 impressions. I was pretty proud of that. It's a really good reach for me. Brandy, I don't know how many views she got, but she had 75 people react. And that's a lot more than I ever get to react to any of my posts. So these go a long way. And these are the early indicators to how many people are going to apply to your job. Okay, we got through sourcing. We got through marketing. Now the actual process begins. You do want to make sure you have an equitable hiring process. This is where you put your money where your mouth is. You can say you are a great employer, but how you show up in your interview process matters so much. So please put thought into this, document it, and make sure everybody follows the same steps. For the resumes, we call it masking. There's a few different terms for this, but redacting the applicant's name and the high school they went to, that will make it harder for anyone to bring bias into the process, whether they're aware of it or not. We still see what degree they got. It just doesn't matter if they got a degree from Stanford or they got a degree from De Anza. They got the same degree. They got that experience. So masking was a big part of it for us. Measuring the conversion rates for each of these groups. Again, Eightfold did that for me, but if you are keeping track of this in a spreadsheet, that way you can adjust in real time. Maybe you need to go back to a specific group and make more posts. Maybe you need to share the job description with someone in that group and ask for feedback on how to attract more of those candidates. But measuring conversion rates is going to clue you in to where you need to adjust your messaging or your process. And then keep the process equitable. It is so tempting to say, I have somebody who's just crushing it, and I would be crushed if I didn't hire them, if somebody swooped them first. So let's fast track them. Let's just make them an offer right now. I just warn you, pump the brakes. Yes, you can still be ready to make them an offer ASAP. Yes, you can expedite the next step for them or even truncate the next step a little, but still make sure everybody goes through the same steps. If If you require a demo from one person, make sure you require a demo from that other person. If you offer a dry run for that demo to one person, you need to offer a dry run to all the candidates too, even if it's an optional step. So that's what I mean by keeping an equitable process. This will bite you if you don't do it and your company gets sued. It happens. It hasn't happened to me, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. So track everything, make sure you have an equitable process for everyone, just to be a good human being and just in case. Panels. For our demo, we had a panel. And so one thing to think about is who's on that panel. If you say you value diversity and you're a diverse company and it's all the same people looking the same on that panel, that's not good. So invite people from other departments. We had AEs. I've had CSMs or implementation professionals sit in on panels and give their take. So different roles, different backgrounds, different genders, different ethnicities, all of that matters. So make sure you've got people in the room that can correctly validate this is a good hire, but also that show you're actually a diverse company. If you're not, that's okay. Just admit that, and people will understand and appreciate you for your honesty. Another step with those panelists, they might not be well experienced in interviewing. So prepare them. There are questions that are illegal to ask. Do you have a family? Do you want to have a family? Those kinds of things. I don't know if it's just California, but I imagine a lot of other states require that you can't ask those. So educate your panelists on what's appropriate to ask, what's not. Inform them as to what you've already learned during the interview process, and tell them why you're so excited about this candidate. Help the candidate start off on the right foot. Help the panelists know what to clue in for. Hey, I think they're a great culture fit, but I can't validate their technical skills. Since you know more about X than I do, can you make sure to ask those questions? Then prepare the candidate. The candidate's nervous. I mean, come on. You remember what it's like to interview. So give them as much information as possible. If you can pre-introduce the panelists in advance, please do. Give them details about what they're going to be assessed on and how they're going to be assessed. Offer to do a dry run with them in advance. A lot of people can feel overwhelmed and pull out of a process. And then lastly, use the standard assessment form. Again, Eightfold has this, but I went through with our recruiter and said, for this step, I want you to assess these things. For the hiring manager screen, I'm going to assess these things. And for the panel, we're going to assess these things. And I informed all the panelists, here's the results, and you're only assessing their demo skills. And these are the 5 things I want you to assess. Don't wander off that they didn't make great eye contact if that's not something you care about, right? So make sure everybody's assessing the same things. At the end of the day, it's going to make your decision so much easier because you can say, well, they showed up with a lot more industry experience, but this person showed up with a lot more energy in their demo. Which is more important to us? How do we weight that? And then you can make an informed selection rather than, well, I just like candidate 2 better. Not super helpful. Also, again, if you ever ended up in legal trouble, you can prove exactly why you hired who you hired. Here's some examples that we did. At Eightfold, we use AI, again, that match score that you saw, on our career site. So if you are applying for a job, it will show you, hey, you're a great match. It's like having your best friend on your shoulder telling you to go for it. I wanted to bring that same experience into the panel prep. So this is the panel prep that I sent out. Here's what we're exactly going to be assessing you on. Details of how the agenda is going to go, and even details of how the rest of the hiring process is going to go. Give them context, give them as much information as they could possibly want, keep them informed, and encourage them. I would also, in other emails to them, put pictures of the team so that they could feel like they were part of the team. They got to know us. We weren't so scary by the time they got to the panel. So they're people. Remember, treat them like they're already an employee, and then they'll get the real experience. All right, some results. I'll start with lessons first. I learned a lot on this journey. I mentioned earlier, I stepped in it on LinkedIn when I was advertising this talk. A diversity hire, I just learned this, I should have known, not a great term. It's loaded, it has baggage from back in the day. It is not the same as diverse. A set of candidates is diverse. A person is not diverse. They have a underrepresented group, or they're part of an underrepresented group, or they have a different background. Underrepresented group specifically can appeal to a lot of things, like I was talking about: race, gender, ethnicity, history, socioeconomical status. In marketing, perhaps there's more women than men. The underrepresented group there is men. So let's just call it out. It's not the same everywhere. So think about what that is for your company and choose your words wisely. There's no easy button. There's no one right way. You're going to make mistakes. That's okay. Be gentle on yourself. It matters that you had good intent and that you keep trying. Ask for help. Be genuine. Let them know I'm asking to learn. It sucks as an underrepresented group member if somebody comes to me and is like, well, you're a woman, so can I get your woman's opinion on this? It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know I was on the payroll. So be kind when you approach people. I sent this presentation to, I think, 4 other people to get different points of view. Try new things. I made a GIF. You can too. Share your intent and fail forward. There's been a lot of failing forward, but we hired a fantastic candidate. All right, back to the goals. 30% was the magic number. How'd we do? Gender neutral job description, check. 30% of applicants, we got 55% of our applicants were from a diverse group, underrepresented group. 30% of the hiring manager interviews, we wanted 9, we got 5, but we were still at 60% there. And of the 3 final demos we scheduled, 66% of them, 2 of the 3 were from an underrepresented group. So very happy with our results. Yes, we did hire someone. Yes, they started. Yes, they are fantastic. They did not declare any underrepresented groups. So there's that, but that's not the point. What the point is we gave everyone a fair shot, and we hired a fantastic person who's already adding value to the company. And I'll end with this last poll for you. There's more after this, so don't leave yet, but this is the last poll for you. What is your mix on your team? How diverse is your team? Everybody get your clickers. I'm going to pop over to the poll and open it up. Mouse is at the ready. Let's see if we can get more than 4 votes this time. How diverse is your SC team? And it doesn't just have to be like your microcosm. You could say our global SC team, something like that. Got 2 votes. All right, 4 votes. Are there more than 4 people in the room? Let's see. Can I get a 5th? Oh, I got a 5th. All right, great. So we have 4 people saying they're about 30% from diversity groups, and 2 people saying 50% or above. I'll throw my name in there. So that's 50% or above. That's 3 votes. Great. So there's always room to improve. We happen to have a very diverse team. I think we're close to 75% identify with an underrepresented group. That was intentional. It's not just because of me. That's why I'm here. The leaders now and before valued that diversity of experience, and it's worked really well for our teams. And I hope that these tips and tricks will help you increase your percentage to be where you want it to be. Last takeaways. Here's a screenshot from actually in our office. I love this sign. Set goals, not quotas. It's not about like we have to get a diverse candidate. That's not the right mindset. Be sincere, be you, be genuine, keep it real. That just goes a long way when talking with people. Get your cameras out, screenshot. I think it's Command Shift F if you're on a Mac. These are the resources I've cited. The GoDaddy story is amazing. I got to hear a talk from somebody that worked there. Turnaround story. Wow. That really inspired me when I started hiring. I thought back to that talk from, gosh, almost 10 years ago. So please read the GoDaddy example if you read nothing else. That's awesome. The illegal interview questions, Google that. That's the last one at the bottom. And here are the URLs of the groups that I know of that I specifically reached out to, most of them. I just learned about Lesbians Who Tech. I'm so disappointed I didn't know about that earlier. Yeah, join these groups, contribute to these groups, source and post the jobs in these groups, ask for referrals from people in these groups. They are so willing to help, and they're going to appreciate your allyship. All right, everybody get your screenshots? Okay. Now, I'd love to see in the chat, what was one thing that you'll do differently now after this session? Let me pop over to the chat. What is one thing you will do differently now? An equitable hiring process. Yeah. It takes some self-restraint to not just make an offer, right? When you got someone great. But you want to make sure they earn the spot. Yep. Nurture your network. Yep. Even if it's just like, I did a series of posts when I first started here, my first 90 days on the job. What was I doing? What was I learning? Who was I meeting? It just gives a window into what it's like to work for that company. Yes, spiffs for referrals. Yep. Yeah, that's a fun one. Everyone loves a good spiff. And we don't have enough spiffs in SC land. So, yep. And make hiring posts more fun. Yeah, it unlocked a creative part of my brain I hadn't been in for a while. So I don't know if I always hit the mark, but I sure try. All right, I promised you a gift. I am going to tell you first because you're my closest friends now. I started a thing. I started a company on Mother's Day. Woo! I am now the proud owner of a company called Templates for SCs. I'm an Etsy shop, and I sell templates for like $1.50 or a bundle for $15 if you're interested. So here's a coupon code, DemoFest. Scan the QR code here. You'll go to my Etsy shop and put the code DemoFest in. You get 50% off everything today through the rest of the week. I just ask that you give me some feedback or leave a review so that I can get the word out. So thank you for being here with me during my first solo presentation. I'm still just as nervous as when I started, but I'm thrilled that I got to share my hiring experience with you all. So with that, I will stop sharing and we'll open for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Diana. That was awesome. If anybody has any other questions, pop them over to the Q&A, but I'm going to get started kind of from top to bottom here. I'll put them on the screen if that's okay with you, Diana, and then kind of say them out loud. So how do you ensure that diverse candidates feel included and valued once they're hired? Also, are there any initiatives that you've seen that can help improve the retention of diverse employees?
Yep. So again, I'll take a broad approach to all employees, and then I'll go specific into diversity. There's a little nuance there. Any good employee. So I had this one manager. He was fantastic. The first day, this is back when we all worked in the office, right? The first day, he made it mandatory for the whole team to go to lunch. And he took me and the whole team out to lunch, and it was just about getting to know each other. Then he had a rule. I didn't know it at the time, but a new hire was not allowed to eat lunch by themselves for the first month. So if you saw a new hire or someone you didn't know in the office kitchen, you had to go eat lunch with them and introduce yourself and like have a conversation. And then he also made it a point in our one-on-ones. I thought this was so weird at the time. He was like, "Are you making friends?" I was like, "Oh, that's a personal question." But now I know, because I asked him, "Why did you ask me that?" And he's like, "Because if people have friends at work, they're more likely to stay with the company." So encouraging relationship building early and often is really important for anybody. One other dimension of that, if you have somebody from an underrepresented group, is make sure you introduce them to others that they might have a better chance of connecting with, like intentionally make those connections for them. Or if there is an ERG, like we have a women's group or an LGBT group, point them at that and say, hey, so-and-so, you run the LGBT group. Could you invite my new hire, or women's group, or so on? We have a veterans group. So be familiar with your ERGs and ask the ERG leader to help embrace your employee in a way that maybe you can't if you're not in the same group.
That's awesome. I love that. I especially love lunch on the first day together. That's really cool. And I just took a million notes. I have been the whole time.
And actually, this is kind of related, but the person we did hire, we really wanted them to start at Cultivate, our conference. It was last week, but they couldn't get time off between their old job and their new job. And they had shared how fried they were. So Quinn is the hiring manager who reports to me. He gave that new employee this week off. So that employee started for a week, went to Cultivate, met everybody, is taking a week off to just decompress, and then they're going to start again. And just little things like that go so far with company loyalty.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Okay, next up, how about subgroups that don't exist? Like, how do you hire people from Africa, say?
Ooh, I'm out of my element on that one. I do not know, but I'm sure if you post that question in Pre-Sales Collective, or even there's a group I'm part of, it's called Talent Network, Talent something. It's for recruiters. Like, I'm sure they could help you out.
Right on. Let's see. Next up, I know a lot of people are removing dates from their resume and LinkedIn because they feel ageism is alive and well these days. Interesting. Have you seen this trend of avoiding even interviewing older candidates?
I've not seen it as a trend. I have seen articles about companies need to be conscious of this and fighting against it. I do have friends who are forcibly retired that would love to be employed right now, but have chosen to just put retired on their resume, on their LinkedIn, because they just can't. They're paid so much. They're at the top of the scale and they're so close to retiring. Yeah, it is a legit challenge. So I guess I've seen it personally. I imagine there's a trend there. I haven't experienced it myself, but it's something you have to be conscious about. I would support anybody that didn't put the dates on their resumes. Maybe if they just put like was there for 3 years, because as a hiring manager, that's what I care about, the duration, not so much the date.
Absolutely. That makes sense for sure. And then last but not least, I am happy in my position as a CSM here at Consensus. Good to know, Miles. But due to the nature of my job, I get asked a lot about how to get into the pre-sales world. Do you have any tips?
I could talk for another hour on that. I was pulled in, kicking and screaming. But if you don't have that opportunity, the Pre-Sales Collective has several courses and even has discounted prices for other courses for people that want to get a certification to prove they're ready for the job. I, as a hiring manager, think highly of that. So if you haven't done the job, but you have that certification, I love that. If you can't go pay for that, maybe that's not in your reach, there are several free resources on LinkedIn. If you're at a company that has pre-sales teams, ask to shadow. Ask your HR team if there's any kind of policy or program in place for interdepartmental transfers. We planned for that, for BDRs to be able to come into our team. Where would they land? How would we help them? What would that look like? So some companies do have that. That's probably your easiest route if you're at a company and can do an internal leap, because it's faster time to value for the company if they hire you than if they hire an outsider, because you already know the company. So make that pitch, get in that team, stay in there at least a year, 2 is better, and then make your leap to another company.
I love that. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Diana. I am going to share my screen again and then just wrap up a little bit here. So we're very excited to be bringing Demo Fest on the road again as Demo Fest X. We had a great time in San Francisco in February, and we can't wait to bring the event to London and NYC again later this year. And you can register to join us at either of those events at demofest.com or at the link in the Docs tab on the right of your screen. We also encourage you to stop by our expo hall to visit our premier partners of DemoFest. Remember, there is no transfer of money involved in this event at all. So all our partners have really gone above and beyond to contribute to making this event successful for all of you. And of course, thank you all for joining us for this session. And thank you to Diana for that valuable insight and knowledge. Up on the screen are the upcoming sessions that you will be automatically pushed to the next session in your track. And you can switch tracks or sessions by toggling to the agenda tab at the top left of your screen. And we'll see you soon.
Happy selling.